Record button.
Okay.
And 3, 2, 1, we'll begin. Hello, this is Cece, and today I have John Daly, one of my art collectors. And so, John, let's just start with tell us a little bit about your background and your relationship with art.
Okay. Well, for one thing, I'm not an artist. Um, so my impressions and my feelings will be from a non-artist point of view. I've never been involved in art, you know, at least in any depth. So all I can really talk about is how the art makes me feel, or some impressions that it leaves on me, things like that. So um, I'm actually a contractor by trade. Um, there's not much art involved in that, but uh, sometimes kind of. But I've done a lot of environmental remediation work, contracting, and now I'm doing hazardous material and environmental training for this latter part of my career. So I have two children. Beautiful daughter who's 35. She lives out in 29 Palms, out by Joshua Tree. Very, very beautiful place, incidentally. And my son, who is 29, lives in Long Beach, and I see him often, fortunately. So, yeah. And I'm divorced. And let me think what else. Not much else.
Well, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, so I noticed you have a lot of art in your home. Um, so what has made you interested in art, and how long has that been going on?
To be very honest with you, the art in my home is from my brother-in-law, who is an artist, and it's just so happens that the home is his, and that's why there's so much of his art in it. Frankly, I've never really been a collector of art. Not that I dislike it or anything. It's just that it's never been something that was really in my, in my whatever wheelhouse or whatever. So, but
Okay,
yeah. Mhm.
okay, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Uh-huh.
Um, okay. So, what piqued your interest in the art that I make?
It when I don't know if you remember, but when we were over at Patrick's house, um, we were going to be doing some singing and things, and Patrick showed me something that you had done for him, and my immediate impression was, "Wow, that's really pretty." You know what I mean? And it was very delightful. And I thought, "Wow, that's lucky Patrick." and and so so then subsequently, I think you mentioned that you had a website, or your card said you had a website, and so I looked on the website and I saw some very beautiful spiritual art on there that immediately attracted me. And so then um, I asked you, as I recall, about that. And unfortunately, the website had, right, it was, something happened. I can't remember what happened, but the art was not available. So I asked you to bring some art to me of various things that you had done, so I could kind of look them over, because I wanted to actually, get some of the things that had attracted me with Patrick's art. And so you brought those over to a coffee shop, I remember. And I looked over them, and I was immediately um, smitten by two of them. And so I bought those, as I recall. Um, and um, So, and then I put them up in my room, and then I started to look at them, and they grew on me. And actually, an interesting part that I noticed about the art that you gave to Patrick and the art that I had is, whenever I go to Patrick's house, I look at it, and it looks more beautiful than I when I first saw it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's like it has more depth and things like that. And so I noticed that the art that I bought has the same quality. It's like you look at it, and sometimes art you can look at it and it's like, wow, that's really nice. And then you kind of become indifferent to it. You know what I mean? Um, I find that that's not the case with your art. It's almost like the more I look at it, the more I enjoy it, and the kind of more depth there is to the art. Um, so, and then after that, um, I had some occasion to get some presents for other family members. I can't remember what the occasion was or what it entailed, but I immediately thought of your art and got one for my sister Mary, who hilariously stood there and stared at it for like an inordinate amount of time, just staring at it and just enamored with it. Um, and so then later on, my other sister, who lives in Oregon, she's very kind to me and everything. And I thought, well, what would be a nice thing to get for her? And I immediately thought of your art, and I commissioned you for a piece that she was just head over heels for. She says every time she looks at it, it makes her happy, and which I find with your art, it's not just beautiful, but it actually uh, initiates joy and good feelings, which is pretty cool, really. So even her little grandson said, "Hey, that's really pretty."
Oh.
Yeah. So so that's the way I became acquainted with your art, through that stuff, those two things. So, yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that.
Mhm.
Glad I got the approval with
Uh-huh.
her. What, grandson?
Yeah, her grandson.
How
Yeah,
old is he?
he's like 6 or 7.
Oh,
So yeah,
that's
so
sweet.
it is. Yeah.
Okay, so I know that you say that you don't have like a specific background with art, but I feel like when you were looking at the art, you were pretty quick about like which ones you said smitten.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So like how would you describe your taste in art?
I like kind of like what would be called organized chaos. So I like things that are spontaneous but not random. You know what I mean? So you get spontaneous, I think, art with intelligence. Initially, it can be like an explosion of things, but then there's a inherent intelligence in it. You know what I mean? And it's not just random. It's spontaneous and it's maybe somewhat chaotic, not chaotic, but you know, but then you look at it and there's a sense. It's almost like subconscious or something, a sense of intelligence and other beauty and things like that. So I like. There's an artist called Kandinsky that I really like.
Oh, it's okay.
Oops. um, but and because it has that quality of kind of a organized chaos, and I find that in your stuff too. It's very it's not real linear or anything like that, but it's there's an intelligence there that I think so. Yeah.
Interesting. And so you mentioned the analogy of the three layers before. Can you go into that?
Yeah, I was trying to put the feelings that I had from viewing the art into something that was not just, hey, it's pretty, it's this, it's that. And I kind of was thinking about the analogy of when I used to stand on a pier looking out at the ocean. Sometimes I'd spend a long time on there, and if it was late afternoon, there would be a lot of wind, and the sun would be kind of dappling on the waves, and then it was very pretty. It was, you almost like little jewels appearing and disappearing on the waves, and that was kind of my first impression of the art. Was, yeah, it's very pretty. It's strikingly, pretty. Um, but then as the second part of the analogy was, um, as you're waiting there and the sun starts to set, then there's a feeling of like exaltation, like a spiritual lifting, where you just feel yourself kind of being lifted. Still, there's motion, and it's not like very calm. There's a lot of motion, but it's lifting your spirits up, and that's kind of the second layer that I felt looking at your art. And then the third layer is when it becomes like dusk, the wind dies down, the ocean is very calm, and then you start to feel the depths of it. And the ocean's very calm, but there's like a silence associated with it, but there's still a lot going on below. You know what I mean? It's quiet, but it's not like there's nothing going on. It's just that it's very still and quiet. And so that's kind of the feeling I got from the deeply spiritual aspect, I think, that you bring to the art. So, or that's brought to the art. I don't know if you do it.
No, I like that you say that because, well, I think I've shared this with you before. Like, I sometimes it feels like it's not like I can't take credit for it. It's just like everything seems to just come together.
Hmm.
So, so yeah, you put it perfectly.
That must be very fun, huh?
It is. It's just like magic almost.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. And okay, thank you for sharing that analogy. It's a cool way to look at it. Um so so what would you say has been the impact of having the art in your room?
It's something that I can enjoy every day. You know what I mean? It's something that, again, it's kind of interesting because it seems to get more pretty as I look at it. So that's kind of cool. It's not like it goes stale or something like that. And, even very nice art to me goes kind of stale, but because it's just like it's surface, you know what I mean? But this kind of elicits spiritual feelings in me, and which that's kind of the whole focus of my life anyway. And so it's conducive to me to go in and meditate and to do my spiritual practices and things like that. So I would say that's the most valuable thing about it to me, is that aspect of it, that it does elicit those feelings of spirituality. And that helps to kind of, it's always good to prime up for meditation, so you have a little bit of incentive, to go in there and do it. And so I'd
Mhm.
say that was probably the most um, benefit to it for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah, the spiritual aspect is definitely something that, or like helping the spiritual practice. That was a big motivator for me. Like the reason why I started making this type of art, and it actually like gave real meaning instead of just making something that looks pretty to look at.
Hmm.
But this way, like it's kind of like, for me at least, it's like a tool,
Hmm.
because I think like the world is always there to distract you and come in with its things. So we always need like a constant reminder, I feel like.
Hmm. Yeah. Good motivation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Well, it works too.
huh?
It works too. Good job.
Thank you.
You pulled it off. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so um can you just speak a little bit about like the commission, like how was that process for you? I don't think I ever like followed up and asked you like how was it?
Um, the commission, the one, I think the only one that I really commissioned was the Mary,
Yeah.
Mother Mary. Yeah, worked out beautifully. Yeah, I mean, you showed me something that was kind of the model of what it was going to be like, and it actually exceeded the what you had shown me. And yeah, I really love that piece. Actually, I'm kind of jealous of my sister getting it, but she's delighted with it. So, but yeah, it in this case at least, it turned out to be perfect. You know what I mean? It was ideal. I told you the size that I needed because I needed to mail it, and you know what was appropriate and things. And yeah, it just worked out ideal, perfect. So,
Cool.
yeah.
Okay, so um, another question is, would you recommend others to work with me?
Of course. The I'm telling you that it's been delightful for me, and it has it's art that I mean I haven't been involved in art again. You know, I glance at it periodically, but this is art that has, as I say, inspired spiritual feelings and helps me actually get in the mood for doing spiritual activities and stuff. So yeah, that's the greatest benefit that I find in it. It's very pretty, but and very original, um, interesting, and again, so it's kind of, as I said, almost organized chaos. You know what I mean? It's like you look at it and there's very original, but then you start to feel the intelligence behind it and stuff in it. It's very cool.
And so who do you think that I'm a good fit for?
Um, you mean as people who would like your art, maybe, or
Uh-huh.
something like that?
Yeah.
Well, so far, two of my sisters. Well, I have seven of them. So, yeah, yeah. So,
So if they share the same DNA as you?
I think so. I've never done a 23 and me on everybody. But yeah. But I know, let me think. There's one, two, three, three I know that would be enamored. Two already are. And then there's one other that I think would be. Um, I think people at the temple, at the church, would be also able to understand the depth of the spirituality and things. Um, and just in general, it's, as I said, it has the just the initial beauty of the first stage of my you know what I mean, whatever my analogy was. Um, so I really, it could be very broad because it is original and very attractive, and on those, for me, those three levels, and could be any of those levels. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's very broad audience, I would imagine. So
Okay. And then so this question, it doesn't have to necessarily be related to art, but what would be your number one piece of advice for somebody on a spiritual path?
might read the autobiography of a yogi.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that would be, seriously, that would be my prime piece of advice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
And then is there anything that you want to promote, like either yourself or like a charity or something?
um, no, I don't think. My church, of course, I would definitely promote. But other than that, there's nothing that I can think of right off the top of my head.
That's okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I don't.
Well, thanks, John.
You're welcome.
Yeah.